Ah, greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I am Tristan.
And I'm Nick.
All right, yeah. Today, we're doing an episode that I guess in a way almost fits in with the Halloween theme of last week. In a way, So,
Yeah.
only in the sense that there's a overabundance of IP addresses on display. So, but nothing wrong with that. So that's what the 80s were all about.
Yep.
So, yeah. Oh yeah, spoiler, it's an 80s movie. But yeah, before we dive into that, is there anything that you watched recently that you want to bring up or mention?
Yeah, this week I watched The Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan's new series on Netflix.
Cool.
It was good.
Good.
He makes some good shit. I like him a lot.
Yeah. I actually watched Midnight Mass finally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was at the beginning of last month. I forgot to mention it. So
That's my favorite of his.
yeah, I think that's my favorite of his too that I've seen. So I think I've seen almost everything. I haven't seen Fall of House of Usher yet, but
It's good. It's interesting because it's based on like Poe novel or Edgar Allan Poe works. It's all like one cohesive story, and like each episode is kind of based on a different poem of Poe, of Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's pretty neat. It's really good.
Nice. Yeah. I work at a bookstore, and I have noticed that Edgar Allan Poe stories have become pretty popular since this came out again. I mean, that's usually what happens whenever any new comes out. So
yeah,
that Killers of the Flower Moon book is really popular right now too, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Gotta try and see that.
Yeah, I want to see that definitely. So I'm looking forward to it finally coming out on streaming. So I might be able to see it in the theater, but
it's playing by me, but that's in 3.5 hours in a theater is a bit of an ask.
It is, yeah. And like the thing is, I don't really want to go to that kind of movie by myself. The thing is, I don't really know anybody who'd want to see it really at 3 hours. Like I'm sure you would, but it'd be challenging to kind of find the time to do that. So
yeah.
But I don't know. I guess it's not impossible. So
yeah.
I don't know. If you feel like doing an episode, let me know. I'll pay for gas and everything. So.
Word. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Follow the House of Usher. Yeah, some people I know who saw it, who like Mike Flanagan, weren't as crazy about it as they were like other stuff. Is it like kind of a grungier approach or grungier type of story, or is it?
No,
Okay.
I'd say it's about the same. I mean, it's a little bit. It does rely more, I guess, on the post narrative stuff. So like each one's kind of bookended really neatly, and I can see that people wouldn't necessarily like how it might be split up each episode or something. Because there's the whatever the narrative arc is he is just retelling this, like the story of how like the main father is telling, like doing a recording of what happened, kind of spilling the beans, so to say. Yeah.
Nice.
So it does even use, I think, some Poe, like they quote Poe during it and stuff, so it could be a little flowery, or for the general audience might be a little too fancy. But I liked it a lot still.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll definitely watch it for sure. I mean, as of late, I've definitely gotten a lot more into Mike Flanagan's work. It took me a while because I'd heard a lot about him and I was kind of going about it slowly, but yeah,
Mhm.
now I can definitely say I'm a fan now that I've watched Midnight Mass. Like I definitely like pretty into his style now. So
Yeah, and I liked his it was he got that Ouija prequel movie.
oh yeah,
That was a good movie that he just got handed like I'll do it if I can do whatever the hell I want with it. He made a
yeah,
good movie out of the Ouija board prequel.
right. It's actually so good that it kind of stands out like a sore thumb, like in
Yeah.
comparison to all those other movies.
Yeah, it's funny shit.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, like a friend of mine was around Halloween time was kind of going and ranting about it, about like all these like horror franchises and stuff, and he was saying like, I wish we could get real horror icons back again, like Freddy Krueger, instead of what we have these days, nuns. What's so scary about nuns? Like the way he was talking, it's really funny.
Yeah.
And that robot Megan girl, whatever it's
Hmm.
called, I haven't watched it yet, but
I didn't either,
yeah. Yeah, it looked kind of dumb, so
yeah.
I figured I'd take my time with it.
Yeah.
I watched I guess like the noteworthy thing I watched because I've been mostly just been watching a lot of like kids movies since like my niece has been living with me. But one thing I did watch recently that I liked was the Spiderwick Chronicles.
Hmm.
It's like it is definitely like a kids movie, but it's kind of a morbid little kids film. Like it's basically about a bunch of kids who have to deal with like kind of being under siege by like a little army of goblins, which in a lot of like fantasy movies I've seen, usually goblins just are like the throwaway bad guy. They're like so easy to kill, but in
Yep.
this movie like they're an actual threat, which is kind of
Mm.
cool. Yeah, and they're like they can turn invisible too, which like makes them even more threatening because suddenly like a kid will be outside and they'll get like dragged by the goblins and they'll get like all these scratches and stuff on them, and like yeah, it's
Huh.
pretty brutal. Like
Damn.
at one point, like yeah, like the sister is trying to figure out what's going on, and the two twin brothers are like, you got to get on the porch, you gotta get here. There's a force field that'll protect you. And she's like, yeah, right. I won't fall for that one. And then suddenly all these goblins start having to attack her and stuff. So she has to
Yeah.
fend them off with like a fencing sword. So
Is it animated or?
it's not animated, but it's like more of like a fantasy. It does kind of have a little bit of like a dark kind of like Lord of the Rings, maybe like quasi Harry Potter type of
Mm.
vibe. I mean, I think it is based on like a kid's book or a kid's book
Okay.
series. But I would actually recommend it. Like as a movie, I actually thought it was really good. And yeah, I forget the main actor in it is like Freddie. I forget what his name. Freddie Highmore. I think that's what the actor's name is. And he plays twins in it, and he actually does a pretty good job, like
Oh,
playing
nice.
twins. So it's kind of cool. So that's like the most noteworthy thing I've watched like recently. And then aside from that, like we've watched a couple like Roald Dahl related films, like not Fantastic Mr. Fox. We already saw that one, but the like this cheap like BFG animated movie that got made in the late 80s
Hmm.
was kind of cool. There's like a song about farting in it. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they play it over
Classic.
the credits too.
That's
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah. And then today we watched Matilda. That was good. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I watched
Yeah.
not related to that. I did watch the Vast of Night today as well.
Oh, nice. How was it?
It was good. It was really good.
Good. Yeah, I was definitely curious about that for sure. So,
Yeah, it's like a 1950s period piece
yeah.
about like a operator, like a phone operator and a
Okay.
radio DJ guy from the 50s there. And then
Nice.
strange things happen in the town they're doing, and it's interesting because like it's a lot about like there's just a lot of just talking. It's mostly just talking and shit. So
Yeah.
a lot of long shots of them with nice monologues, and there's like a 9-minute a long shot of the girl using the operating thing and her just listening to the radio and shit. And it's still really engaging because that's what kind of like it's about sound and like talking and
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I haven't seen it. I know that there's like it is kind of like a old school type of thing from what I understand. Like, are you're talking about the one that was made what like 3 years ago or 4 years ago or something like that, or are you talking about
yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it's definitely one that I've heard of, and I thought like the concept of it sounded really cool. So
It was really good. Yeah.
yeah, I like horror films and science fiction films and stuff that do a lot with sound design. You know, that's something I've been getting more like interested in lately is the sound design of these kinds of things. So
Yeah, and this one wasn't even necessarily much about sound design. It's just about like just listening to people talk. Because there's
oh,
sometimes
okay,
there's even like just black screen of them talking, like they're on the phone.
okay,
And like it's just because they're they just barely came out with TVs in the 1950s or whatever, and
yeah,
there's a guy telling a story at one point, and you're just listening to the radio DJ listen to him talk about the story of
oh,
what's
nice,
going on, and
yeah,
yeah. It's very interesting, and it's the weird thing is though it's like tied around like a I mean I don't even know why they even did it in the first place, but like it's a Twilight Zone type. Like the first shot's like you're in like a 50s living room, and it's like it has a TV that's doing a Twilight Zone ish intro, like basically a Twilight Zone intro, and then just
nice.
zooms into the TV, and then you're in the movie, and then
Oh well,
it doesn't really incorporate too much. Sometimes it'll show like the TV again and of the characters walking in black and white and stuff, but don't really
yeah,
know why they did that. And then yeah, it's a lot of long shots with long dialogue just thrown right in and
okay,
really good.
okay. Yeah, I mean, sometimes like certain things like that like to kind of have like weird ideas of how to set mood and things, and maybe they were trying to give it like that sort of like this is just like a cryptic episode of something that you would kind of suddenly come upon or something like that. Maybe it's what they were trying to go for, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Overall, it definitely builds tension really well with what it has on a low budget.
Yeah, good. And that's on streaming still?
Yeah,
Okay.
Amazon.
Amazon. All
Amazon
right.
has it, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. I think it was on Netflix at one point.
Maybe I think Amazon straight up bought it because it was like an independent film that someone made and they just bought it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay. So, all right. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of something else then. Wasn't there like something about like some people on like a dock or something, or like working at like a dock or something at like some kind of beach resort, and then they like hear like alien sounds or something? Like, it has like a similar title to that. I'm probably just getting it confused, but like something nighttime or
Hmm.
the night calls or something like that. I don't know.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, regardless, I'll check it out. Vast of Night. So
Hell yeah.
cool. All right. Well, I guess we should talk about the film that I chose for this episode.
Hmm.
It's it's a film that it's not the film itself isn't related to anything we've done, but it does kind of have a similar relation to another movie we did called Moonfall, and the relation is that it's by the same director, Roland Emmerich. Um,
Oh, is this? I didn't know that.
yeah, Roland Emmerich, and it's Roland Emmerich. I think it's his first movie, from what I understand. And the title, it the title it
Oh,
varies depending on which country you live in. But in the United States, the title is Making Contact, and the original title is just simply Joey. So I think both titles are kind of vague.
yeah.
Yeah. I suppose that Joey is a more accurate title, only because like the actual making contact, quote unquote, part is sort of only one part of the movie, and it's like right at the beginning. But I
I
don't know.
thought like I didn't know anything about this
Yeah,
at all. I thought it was going to be an alien movie, a movie about aliens.
that's what I thought
Just by
too.
the name of Making Contact. But yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
not.
that's exactly what I thought it was going to be too. I thought it was going to be an alien movie based on not only the title but like the cover, because like the cover makes it look like a ripoff of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Um, and actually, in a way, it kind of is like a. I mean, maybe not a ripoff, but certainly like very reminiscent of like Spielberg movies for sure.
Mhm. There was the
Um,
ET. I
yeah,
wrote that
yeah,
down. Like there was a toy and then an ET finger poke thing.
yeah. There's that, and there's also a part where like the mom is drinking coffee, and the mug that she's drinking from is an ET mug.
Yeah. There was a lot of, I think, like a lot of ET nods, even though it was about dead stuff instead of aliens.
Yeah, exactly. and, and it
No,
was
I
just,
didn't even put that together. The whole like last act was so ET Spielbergy.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole movie kind of is. I would
Yeah.
say probably more sinister than ET, but
Hmm.
let's see. The plot. Okay, so this movie, this is still. I mean, this is a pretty confusing movie. Um, and I say that not like to criticize it exactly, but just I think in general the film is there's just sort of a lot going on in it.
There's like two
Um,
plots, kind of, really. Like,
yeah. Um, but the weird thing is that the two plots are not they're kind of only vaguely related. Like
hmm
so like the way the movie begins so it starts off at a funeral and the main character the title character Joey his dad just died I don't think they say how he died, they just kind of say that he's dead. um and then at the funeral like he's sitting there and like all these different people are like, oh, he was a good man, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, oh, I hope you get over this and all this stuff. Um and obviously he's like kind of bummed about it, but before he even really has any time to grieve though, he's already getting phone calls and like from who he assumes is his father, because when he picks it up he like talks to him like he is his dad,
yeah.
you know. um
And there was just even before the phone's ringing, but like his whole room started coming alive, all his toys and shit, and he makes a friend throughout. Like that's an
yeah,
R2D2 looking toy,
yeah,
Charlie or something. Yeah,
yeah, Charlie the robot, who I thought was going to actually be a bigger character than he ended up being, but you know,
I didn't even think he was gonna be a character.
yeah,
So I'm surprised he was as big a character as he was. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they kind of introduce him, and he does sort of become important at first because, like, pretty much shortly after, so basically, his phone it like glows red, kind of like like the like the phone in what was it in Batman, that old Batman show where like the phone would ring and it'd be like red.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he like picks it up and it's presumably his father, but like shortly after he like starts talking on the phone, he starts having like these strange, so basically the whole movie is just this kid dealing with supernatural shit. He starts having like these psychic powers of some sort, and he's able to kind of control things, although he doesn't really have a very disciplined, like he doesn't really have time to actually like hone his powers. um
Yeah,
but
it was
he seems,
actually
yeah,
his like because he's moving he first shows off to his mom with it. Well, he does something in the classroom too with it, but we don't
yeah,
know because of what we saw. It got cut off. I don't really know what fucking happened. Unfortunately,
yeah. The version we watched was kind of oddly edited. You could tell like I don't know, there were just a lot of little moments that were sort of missing, and like so okay, so I guess I should probably explain. So when we started watching this, like I kind of started watching the US version and I got about 10 minutes in, and I noticed that like the overdubbing was like really really bad, and I'm not exactly sure exactly what the deal was because it seemed like the characters were speaking in English, but then when they would speak their lines, like it just didn't, like they didn't sound like the right like the voices didn't match, and like about 10 minutes in, I just eventually reached a point where I just didn't feel like torturing myself anymore, and then I just turned it off and just decided to watch the longer German version, even though like the quality, like the picture quality wasn't as good, but I couldn't, I don't know, for some, I was just so irritated I couldn't handle the dubbing anymore. um but so basically what happened, because I did see that scene in the US version, and what happens, he's in the classroom and his classmates are kind of making fun of him, and I think one of them leaves a little note with a skeleton wrapped in it that is presumably like a dad insult. And so the
Yeah,
teacher
it says this is what your dad looked like now. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, those kids are brutal.
Yeah, the bullies in this movie are pretty mean. And the teacher, of course, is like, well, how would you feel if, your dad died and then somebody did that? And of course, the class, like the kids in the class are doing like this egg experiment where they're supposed to like be taking care of an egg. But of course, half the kids have already wrecked theirs. And Joey starts using his psychic powers to kind of steal an egg from this fellow classmate of his who her desk is right next to his. Of course, she doesn't really seem to mind that he's stealing her egg, but whatever. And he's like rolling the egg across the ruler, and then like while the teacher's like giving a lecture, he like puts his hand, he like slams his fist down on Joey's desk and accidentally smashes the egg. So that for whatever reason in the German version, that part was like kind of cut, but that's
Okay.
basically what happens. Yeah, so that's really all you missed as far as I can tell. So but anyway, so yeah, this kid's dealing with his dad being dead. He's dealing with having these weird psychic powers that he doesn't really understand.
Dealing with bullies.
Yeah, and the bullies who are just giving him crap for, because I guess because he lost a dad, I guess. And let's see, he is kind of developing a cute little like love thing with this like this classmate of his who has like these pigtails, and at one point he uses his psychic powers to make her pigtails start flopping around in the air. So it's like, oh, it's like one of those like charming, like cheesy, like, oh, look what this kid can do. But before anything even great can happen, though, suddenly Charlie kind of leads him into, I mean, I guess it's next door, although it's a little unclear. It's either next door or like right down the street. It's very close to his house.
And I do want to say on his powers too, that he explains it that it's his dad helping him in moving the power. So I wasn't sure, like I wasn't sure throughout the whole movie if he had powers or not, or if it was his ghost dad moving shit. But
yeah,
I kind of figure he had psychic powers because that's what it just seemed like throughout the movie.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he did have psychic powers. I am a little bit unclear as to whether they came from his dad or not. I'm gonna assume that they did, but I do also I did sort of pick up on the fact though that like at a certain point in the film he started realizing that the person he was talking to on the phone wasn't his dad, and that it was like the ventriloquist.
At that point, he said the puppet wouldn't let him speak to his dad. He was like saying, "No, you can't speak to your dad anymore. I'll kill you," or some shit like that.
Yeah. Like basically, so Charlie leads him to this abandoned building, and inside of the abandoned building, he finds a ventriloquist dummy.
And yeah, it is next door, pretty much like right next door. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, basically. And if it's not next door, it's right within eyesight of their house, so it may as well be next door. And the ventriloquist dummy also seems to have like psychic powers as well, because it's causing all kinds of crazy crap to happen at his house as well. And at first it seems to be like a telekinetic ventriloquist dummy, but then eventually it does start talking and it does start doing stuff. At one point it actually tries to kill his mom. I was getting,
it shoots
wild
lasers, it zaps people, zaps them and shit.
Yeah, I was getting Trick or Treat vibes from this movie like crazy. Like
oh yeah
like yeah. And I think when we were talking about Trick or Treat, we were talking about how that movie probably takes place in the same universe as Stranger Things. I would also probably argue that this movie does too.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Joey seems like the type of kid that would fit in with that
he
vibe.
has psychic powers and shit.
Yeah. He's like a little 11 almost. So, and eventually the bullies, start pushing him too far. I think they I think they trash his robot or do something to it.
Oh
And
yeah, they shoot it with like they had remote control tanks, and
yeah,
they
that
shoot
was
it with remote control their tanks, and then he blows it up with he blows up
Yep,
their tanks with his mind.
yep. And they all get spooked the hell out, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh no!" And they see him do it. And so after that scene, pretty much throughout the rest of the movie, the bullies basically consider Joey like evil, and like throughout the rest of the film, they basically just are trying to take him down. So
it's funny too. Like I get when the teacher came by when he blew him up, and he's like, "Who the hell threw some dynamite around?"
yeah,
Like, no, Joey did it.
yeah, they're like, Joey did it. Joey blew it up. And also like the teacher ends up sort of developing a bit of a friendship with his mom as well, which of course like that ends up being a little bit of a messy situation too, because like he comes over for dinner and they're trying to talk to Joey, try to like calm him down and all this stuff, but he keeps using his psychic powers, and eventually he ends up like burning the teacher.
Oh
Like he
yeah.
like picks up a spoon and burns him. Yeah.
When they put it, they like he puts his hand in a fishbowl, and they put ice in
Yeah.
the fishbowl.
Yeah. I didn't get that.
Well, you're killing the fish now. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah. That was a really weird moment. And also like in the middle of that, the guy said, I heard that around puberty this kind of thing starts to happen. And then his mom's like, what are you talking about? He's only 9.
Yeah. That was funny shit, yeah.
Yeah. And let's see, there's also like a gorgeous shot, which from what I think is only in the German version, where you kind of see the silhouette of Joey on the bicycle, and he like waves to the little girl and then bikes away or whatever. I just thought that was kind of a cool looking shot, like with the sun going down and stuff in the background. But anyway, so yeah, all this is happening, and at somewhere in the midst of all this, there's the government ends up getting involved and like basically starts like doing the whole ET thing. Once they get wind of Joey and his psychic powers, they start quarantining the house, and
yeah, because he fucks with the phones of the town somehow with his psychic powers. That's what. And he's in there like it triangulated from your house. We know it's you, and I guess they've found other kids with the same powers or something.
Yeah, I guess so. Because they're like, you've been scaring the people who are phone operators. You've been scaring the phone operators like crazy. They say at one point, and they try to do the whole like test run thing and stuff, and they like attach the wires to him. And meanwhile, there's also like a lot of tension. Like, I mean, leading up to that point, there's all kinds of mayhem. Like at one point, the ventriloquist dummy like pins him to the wall and all kinds of stuff. Like, and like his toys start attacking him. It's crazy, But once his house gets all quarantined, the bullies actually decide to try and kidnap him.
I didn't get that. I was so confused if it was like a translation thing, like where they try. No, I don't know, because they were like, why did they want to kidnap him? I thought they were like trying to save him, but they're like, no, like the dialogue was like, no, we want to take him and kidnap him, and they didn't seem like they wanted to save him either.
No, I think I think they were probably going to try to kill him or something, because I think at that point in the film they thought he was like a monster, and so there's like this whole sequence where they burst into the house and they pretty much just like supersede the government agents
somehow.
Yeah.
They're like, what are these kids doing? And they let them do it.
Yeah, actually they go like they go so far that the government agents end up just leaving. Like they just give up. They're like, we can't deal with these kids, and they just leave. That was pretty funny. Yeah. And of course the lead bully, he's got this great moment where he puts this Darth Vader mask over his head. Like,
I wonder what the legal, because even at the there's some direct I mean, they say the Force is with us when he does that, and then
Yeah, yeah.
they just straight up use Darth Vader as a character almost in that chase scene.
Yep. Yep. Right at the end of the movie, Darth Vader literally shows up. He walks in out of the clouds, just like he does um in the original Star Wars movie, and which was like, whoa, you know.
I wonder, yeah, like,
yeah,
I was just wondering, like, I wonder what if the American version kept that, or if they were.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious. It seems like they would probably have to, wouldn't they? Because that was kind of an important moment. I mean, there's even like there's a part where like AT walkers and stuff are coming out of his room, and
yeah, and
He-Man and like
flying whatchamacallit, Han Solo's one, Millennium Falcons flying around too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh yeah, there were a couple of appearances of the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, this movie was all about the Star Wars and all about like all kinds of other like yeah, He-Man definitely showed up. I saw him on the lunchbox and like yeah, just tons of like 80s cartoons. I think I saw that that weird little thing with the like with the sock puppet on the head or whatever that thing was called. Like what's it? I don't remember, but
I'm not sure.
Oh man. And yeah, and you know, of course, like there's also I mean there is a dog that is kind of involved in what's going on, but he doesn't end up getting to do much. What's the dog's name? Scooter?
Scooter,
yeah. Like basically once the ventriloquist dummy shows up, Scooter doesn't want anything to do with Joey and mostly just stays out of his room.
Yeah.
So but let's see. Yeah, so eventually Joey actually ends up more or less fleeing, and the bullies chase him down.
Yeah,
his little love
interest breaks in before the bullies run over this place. Yeah.
Yeah. And she basically rescues him, and of course, like he's more or less in like abandonment mode by this point of the film because I mean his mom is terrified of him, the government's after him, you know, and at the end of the movie, instead of dealing with the government, they just call the police instead. So and let's see, the bullies, they do chase after him and they end up following him through the abandoned building and into like this underground maze thing.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, it gets really fucking weird. And then the ventriloquist dummy starts summoning all these different monsters, and so all the kids are getting attacked by monsters. And at one point, like one of them gets attacked by like a giant like sandwich or
hamburger, cheeseburger,
yeah,
giant kid, hamburger.
Yeah, that was pretty scary. There's also like this ugly fat like ET shit monster thing hanging out in a trash can.
Right. Yeah.
At one point the teacher takes a picture of it. That doesn't lead anywhere. I
don't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, this movie was just a lot of trippy shit. And then and so then eventually Joey does rescue the bullies and has kind of like this quasi psychic face off with the ventriloquist dummy, which he ends up basically having to take him out like by like somehow like talking to the actual ventriloquist. But it's not really the ventriloquist. It's like like a ghost, like a specter of the ventriloquist. And of course they're warning Joey, no, don't go in that room, you know. Because there's the exit, the exit sign appears behind him and he walks through it, and presumably he ends up like, I mean, after that it's kind of a mystery what happens to him, but presumably he encounters his dad, but you don't actually see it or hear it. It's just kind of implied. But you kind of have to kind of work a little bit to sort of
understand what's going on.
Yeah, because a lot of it, there's very little dialogue in this movie, and the dialogue that is in this movie is pretty cryptic. Like one of the government agents says that Joey is the key to realizing that there's no like line between life and death, and that like both exist on the same spectrum. But of course, like at the end of the movie when he walks through the door, you like the next time you see him, he's on a stretcher and his shirt's off and he's got all the wires attached to him, and they're trying to zap him awake.
Yeah, and when he walks through that
Yeah.
door, it was his dad he was trying to talk to or something, and it kind of goes to like this trippy transition to like he's in another realm of existence or whatever, another plane for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, like suddenly this movie turns into 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it kind of just, I mean, after that, like presumably Joey is no longer alive, because they do try to revive him again and again, and they don't succeed. And the bullies and stuff feel really regretful because they treated him like crap. And his girlfriend misses him because she loves him. And the teacher's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll do what can I do? I'll do what I can to help you out." He says to his mom. So hopefully,
Yeah, the little girlfriend takes Charlie. She says she'll take good care of him.
yeah, which is nice, because at least somebody has to care about Charlie at the very least, But then suddenly everybody at the end of the movie kind of starts like sort of, I guess there's like a reason to believe that Joey is not dead. But
yeah, it's just like toys start flying back into his room. There's like one little red light too, and then a bunch of toys follow it into his room.
Yeah, you see like dozens and dozens of toys flying all over the place, out like coming out of his closet and all this stuff. And I guess that's supposed to mean that he's alive.
We don't really know. Like, the doctors that were in there run out of the room and tell the little girl not to go in. And it's all zapping and shit. And then it kind of just ends with a picture of her right outside the door. It's like,
it's like a freeze frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that he's still alive, but the credits start rolling before you find out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whatever happens, I mean, I'm assuming that the film is trying to kind of be a little bit of a little bit of an existential exercise. I mean, it's very much a genre film. That's the thing that's kind of unusual about it, is that like I get the sense that there's a desire to explore like some deeper, headier ideas about the afterlife. But I don't know, mostly this film seems to be more interested in just kind of showing like a lot of mysterious, cryptic visuals and stuff. Not really answering any questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do kind of have to draw your own conclusion a little bit. But there is some thought, I would say, at least as far as like the way like things look and how like you kind of see how Joey descends from being like a kid who is more or less disinterested in everything due to the death of his father, to by the end of the film having something of a purpose, because like he goes so far as to actually like track down the ventriloquist, who you can assume is somewhat responsible at least for the evil of the dummy. Although a good chunk of the movie, it seems to be about him trying to attempt to warn Joey about the evil of the ventriloquist dummy. But
yeah, because there was that one like slideshow thing too that the dummy showed, that the ventriloquist stopped and didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then it kind of implied that he came back a few years later with it, and like the dummy made the actual ventriloquist start his shows again or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's unusual about the movie, is it doesn't really give you any concrete answers. At the beginning of the movie, you assume that it's his dad that's warning him, but it turns out it's the ventriloquist that's warning him. So it's like, I don't know, like how much of an influence did his dad have, or how much influence did he not have? And did Joey's psychic abilities have anything to do with the dummy? I mean, I don't think it did, but
I don't think so.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's just one big mystery. And I don't even know necessarily that it's a mystery that's meant to be solved either. I'm tempted to just assume that Roland Emmerich really kind of was trying to make more of just an experimental movie. You know, I mean, I don't know, or maybe his vision got so compromised that he couldn't even salvage it in the German version. I mean, it's hard to say, really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised though if this were just Roland Emmerich just fucking around. You know?
Seems like
So,
that, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's more or less made a career out of it by this point. So, I would say if this film had anything to do, if this film has anything in common with the rest of his movies, it's mostly just the fact that there's a lot of action sequences and none of them feel like they have consequence. In fact, I would actually go so far to say that probably his most consequential movie was Moonfall.
His best.
Yeah, I actually liked Moonfall. That's the funny thing. Like everybody thought it was like one of the worst movies of the year, but I actually enjoyed it. I liked it more than Independence Day, at least. So, Independence Day I liked when I was a kid, but I don't know. Watching it now, I think it's kind
Doesn't
of
hold up.
not really. No, it's kind of cool that it like kind of was the birth of the thong a little bit, or at least the mid '90s equivalent of the thong. Like I definitely will never forget the scene where just the random girl in the thong. But yeah, I don't know. For a movie about aliens invading Earth, like doesn't really feel like there's that much of a threat. Like even though everything's just blowing up all the time, just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of consequence to it. So, but yeah, I don't know. Making Contact, Joey, whatever the fuck it's called. Kind of, I don't know, kind of an interesting sort of movie in its own. It could only be made in the '80s, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What were your thoughts on it overall? Like,
it was okay. I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
It was just so boring. It was like really, it was slow, and like when the kids were like the bullies were starting to like they showed their headquarters or whatever and all that stuff. I was like, oh no, we still have like 40 minutes, maybe an hour or something left of this shit. I'm like, I'm already done with it. When the scientists came in, I'm like, what are we? It was so like disjoint. There was like, yeah, like a few different plots going on and none of them really connected.
Yeah. And we watched the more coherent version too. Like I can already check based on the 10 minutes I saw of the US version, like that movie's a mess. That version, I had an even harder time following that one than I did with this one. Like with that one, like I wasn't even sure what time things were supposed, because I got the impression that the death of the father was something that happened like either later on in the movie or like something that happened like a long time earlier. Like the time placement in the US version feels even more disjointed than it does in this version. And that's saying something. Like so, yeah.
I mean, I just didn't find it all that fun. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would more or less agree. I didn't really like it either. I thought like seeing all the Star Wars toys and all like the different like special effects and stuff, that was kind of neat. And I thought the ending was kind of interesting. I mean, it could have been better, but like I thought the intention was sort of different. But yeah, I would have to say that like I can see why this movie hasn't gotten much of a rediscovery because it's not really that interesting.
Yeah.
You don't see like dark stories like this about kids like too often, but I don't know. I feel like this could have been a lot better. Like there needed to be more like logic, It just didn't feel like there was like like I mean, I don't even necessarily need to have a movie like have logic for it to be good, but this was a movie that like actually could have used one, because like for a movie with like so little plot, there is way too much exposition going on. And none of it ever really leads anywhere because you don't really know like what's at stake ever, Like I mean, was the ventriloquist dummy capable of destroying the world? Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Could zap shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, were there any like alien things in it? I mean, I'm guessing not,
I don't.
but
Yeah, I don't
it's
think
it
so.
yeah. It just but for some reason it still felt like there was like an undercurrent of some kind of like otherworldly type of like the truth being out there type of thing. Like there were a lot of shots of the sky, and there were a lot of shots of just like people speculating about other species and stuff. I mean, not shots, but just moments of speculation. I don't know. Not a lot of paranormal logistics. I mean, I don't know. I'd probably give it like a 2.5, maybe 2. I don't know. I feel like that's probably being like overly generous. I honestly don't think I'd recommend this movie to very many people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Roland Emmerich completionists. That's about it.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd give it a 1.5, I think.
Yeah, not
No.
enough boobs.
No. So boring. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty plain, you know. I was expecting better, so
More world-ending threats. Yeah. Just that
yeah.
damn puppet. Who knows?
Yeah. Pretty much. You know. Like I might give it another chance in a few years. You know, maybe I'll try watching the US cut again because that's only 79 minutes long, so maybe it is better. And I
No.
just didn't give it a chance, you know. Like yeah, maybe the shorter this movie is, the better. Like maybe this movie just needs to be nothing but highlights. Maybe it just needs to be a series of action scenes, and that'll
Yeah.
make it better.
There you go. It could help.
Yeah. But for now, Joey, sorry, I expected better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not Roland Emmerich's worst movie, though. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
So.
That's fair. That's true.
Yeah. I'd take this over 10,000 BC, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to weigh them pretty carefully, but I think this one was the more exciting of the two, believe it or not. So I don't know. All right, but I don't know. I can't really think of anything else to say about it. There's really nothing else to say. Ultimately, I mean, just check it out if you want. It's on YouTube, so
Yeah. I don't got anything else now.
yeah. I guess the acting was okay. But
Yeah. It's fine, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. I guess it's okay for a low budget movie, but whatever. All right, so I guess that concludes our discussion on Making Contact.
Mm-hmm.
So now I guess it is your turn to choose what movie we're going to talk about next.
Okay. My movie I am choosing is called Finder's Fee.
Finder's Fee. Ooh.
From 2001.
Finder's Fee. I don't think I've heard of that one.
It is directed by Jeff Probst.
Nice.
And it has a good cast. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is in it.
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard, Robert Forster, James Earl Jones.
Nice. Oh man, I'm looking forward to this. Oh, and
Yeah.
it's got that one weird old lady from Blue Velvet, like Frances Bay or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frances Bay. That's awesome. All right, nice. I'm looking forward to it. Finder's Fee. Never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually have. I actually have I at the bookstore that I work at. We have a couple books that were written by Jeff Probst. I think yeah, like I guess there's like they're not survivor specific, but they are survival books. So,
Yeah, he's done like young adult type, like Lord of the Flies ish, but for kids type.
Nice.
Survivor related, like their kids deserted on an island kind of thing, I think.
Excellent.
Remote, yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I've seen them available. So.
Yep.
All right, Finder's Fee. All right, I'm looking forward to that one. And I'm assuming it's available on streaming.
Yeah, yep. It should be. So at least on Tubi for now, right now. And
Excellent. All right. Well, if it gets taken off, we'll pull an Urban Menace and we'll track it down somehow.
there are other ways to watch it too. It's just free on Tubi.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. I'll stick with Tubi then.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, that's it for tonight. So I hope you all have a good night, and thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm. Have a good one.
Bye.